Hey, everybody. We're back today with a top 10 list for the Kinks. I'm joined by Gary, physical format, rock and roll. Steve, all the world's a stage. Glad to have them both here. We've been discussing what bands or artists to collaborate on and do a top 10. And we came up with the Kinks. We have mutual interest in them. So that's where we're at. Of course, the Kinks, one of the great underrated, in my mind, rock and roll bands of all time, considering they are Hall of Famers, part of the British invasion, but they don't get their just due. They're sort of, as Steve once said, redheaded stepchild of rock and roll, and I think he's exactly right. They're not on the upper echelon in most people's eyes, but the listeners know they have a cult following, and it's justified. So anyway, they're undeniably British through their lyrics. You can hear it everywhere. They have that edgy, punky sound at times, a little bit brash, a little bad boy image, I would say. They were banned for a while from 1964 to 68 from performing in the US. And I think that really hurt their commercial appeal, to be honest with you, when they couldn't come over here and tour. So there's reasons why I guess things are the way they are. But I love the lyrics, especially. Ray Davies, a fantastic songwriter. Loaded with political, social commentary about take shots at British society, celebrity. The landscape of British is prominent a lot of times. He's got that British slang going on. Only a Brit would know some of those terms. You got to look them up to say what does he mean by that. But anyway, clever, witty, the Kinks. Anyway, I want to welcome both my guests, Gary and Steve. How you guys doing today?
Great.
Very good.
Good. Great to have you with us. And as we like to do on these, we're going to start with some honorable mentions. And Steve, spit out a few if you'd like. What did not make your list?
Okay. I'm probably going to lose some subscribers. Lola. Waterloo Sunset.
Ooh.
Well-respected man. You really got me. Okay, so I can hear the clicks going off as I'm rattling these off. But,
how about you, Gary? Do you have any? Is that it? You have more? Hit me with some more.
No, that's fine.
Those three, okay.
I've
Gary,
done enough damage. I've done enough damage.
I will. I'll join Steve down there in the toilet with. I also left Lola off of my list. One that I had a tough time not putting on my list was Destroyer.
Yeah,
because I do really like that song. And Living on a Thin Line,
like that.
Dave Davies, that's a really good one. So those are a few that I kind of had a hard time with.
I like all those songs, but I can see that they fell a little short. And I'm going to make the trifecta because Lola didn't make my list either.
Well, hey, there you go.
You know, I usually go for those popular songs, but I've heard it way too much. I still like it, of course, but I wanted to give 10 other songs their respect here. I also did not put Victoria, Tired of Waiting for You, Living on a Thin Line, Where Have All the Good Times Gone, or just a few of the ones here, Destroyer as well, and Rock and Roll Fantasy. Those are the ones that did not make the cut this time around, but can't say I don't like them because I do. I like all the Kinks songs. So that brings us to
Lola's probably, I'm guessing, just like what you said, just because we've heard it so much.
Yeah, and on the radio, and it's just
I tried not to factor that in, and I'm like, you know what? Why am I not including it? Is it that I've grown tired of it, or I don't know. I gave it another listen today, even, and I'm fighting to give it a chance. And I still couldn't put it in my top 10.
I'm the same way. I felt exactly the same way. I felt like a hypocrite leaving it off, but I was hoping you guys would pick up the slack and put it in, but you all agree with me, so that's cool. It shows you have a taste, you know what I'm saying? All right, anyway, we're going to do 10 through 6. We're going to start with Steve, and then when we get to our top 5s, we'll go back and forth with it.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to say thanks for inviting me to come on this, and also I'm in the big leagues now. I'm with some VC heavy hitters here.
Not yet, you're not.
We appreciate
I mean,
you coming on.
I'm-
We want to,
I'm like Sally Field at the Oscars. You love me. You really love me.
I thought it would be a good combination, us three, so that it's working out well.
Okay. You mean like the Three Stooges?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So number 10 from, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the album from 1989, UK Jive, How Do I Get Close? I think it is Dave Davies' best guitar work. And actually, you mentioned, Rich, in your preamble about Ray Davies' lyrics, that really you'd have to be a Brit to understand it. Well, we as Americans pronounce their name incorrectly. It is actually Davis.
I know.
We,
I've heard
we
that.
say
Yep.
Davies because there's that E in there, and we just kind of, bastardized their name. But so anyway, but for this, we're still going to call him Davies. So I think this song would have been a great concert song. It's a very anthemic chorus. If you've never heard it, I would tell you to check it out. So number 9 from Sleepwalker, Life Goes On. I love the acoustic intro. It sounds a lot like Bob Seger's Night Moves when it first starts out. But lyrically, it's like a country western song. Anything that can go wrong in this song goes wrong. I mean, the girl runs off, his bank went under, the well ran dry. Everything that can happen happens. Now, a song you mentioned, Rich, that you struggled to make your top 10, A Rock and Roll Fantasy from Misfits, 1978. I like the song because much of it's autobiographical. He's kind of singing about the band, potentially breaking up. And so, and next would be 2 songs. Number 7 and number 6 are both from the same album, State of Confusion, 1982. Is Bernadette. I think this is their most raucous song. I mean, this is them just kind of punching it, and the pedal is to the metal. And then the other song is the title track, State of Confusion. I mean, it starts out kind of a tomahawk style guitar, and I love the keyboards in that song. And a lot of times their songs really do not feature keyboards, but that is my bottom 5.
I like that chorus too. I'm in the state of confusion.
Yeah.
That's a winner. All right, Gary, what do you got for your 6 or 10 through 6? Excuse me.
Yeah, no, now I'm almost wishing I would have put State of Confusion on.
I know, it's a classic.
It's a great song.
You can pull an audible.
Well, number 10 for me, and I do have some predictable ones in here. Normally, Rich is more doing the hits than I am, but I got a lot of them in here.
I do too.
I got You Really Got Me at number 10, just because for even more so than Lola, I felt like I had to put this song in here, even if it's at number 10. I feel like with that, AAGA, that simple guitar line, that's every band, and any group of kids that started a band, they're like, okay, well, we can play You Really Got Me. They know how to do that one. It's one of the early songs with any kind of distortion in it. It's just a great, simple rock song, but it's almost like they started garage rock with that song.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was the smoke on the water of its era.
Yeah. And, I think that, of course, people now, they associate Van Halen with that song. But for me, at this point, even though, I love Van Halen, I would rather hear the original Kinks version of that song. I love the drums in that song also. I love the drum sound in that song.
Yeah.
And I think that was recorded like back in 64, maybe
64.
somewhere right.
Yeah, 64.
Right around that.
Yeah.
And it's just a simple, great rocking song, and it started things rolling for the Kinks.
Yeah.
So that's my number 10. Number 9 is Low Budget.
Yep.
Title track, the song
that song.
itself,
Yep.
Low Budget. I love the way that Ray sounds on that song. He sounds like he's an angry drunk when he's singing, and it's just a funny song, but yet he's commenting on the recession, you know, that they were having in England at that time. I love the line where he talks about his pants being too tight. His pants are size 28, but he needs a size 34.
Awesome.
You know, but the whole song is that way. And anybody else could do that song and it would just sound silly. But I can listen to that song and I rock along with it.
Yeah.
I think that's a great example of something that the Kinks can do. Number 8, Well Respected Man. I feel like this is where Ray Davies started his great songwriting. Like you were talking there, Rich, making social commentary, basically talking about all of the elite English people being hypocrites and just older people in general. At that time, looking down at the kids, at the youth, you know, oh, they're doing this and they're doing that. But in this song, he talks about what they're doing, you know, what their moms and dads are doing, how they're all basically full of shit. And then number 7, I've got the title track, To Give the People What They Want. I love that song. To me, that's like the Kinks, one of their punk rock songs in a way. It's just very, you know, you got to give the people what they want. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da. And even the song itself, that whole, you know, that album, it's almost like the Kinks are saying, okay, you guys want harder music, you know, that's what we'll do. And, you know, it's the Kinks saying, we'll give you what you want. But he's also talking about different things through history and talking about how people want the violence, the perversion, the rape, all this other stuff. They want to see it. You know, he's got that horrible line about John F. Kennedy in there, but you know, Ray Davies can write something like that. And I just think, once again, he's making a commentary. He's being funny at the same time. And then number 6, I don't know, you guys might give me crap for this, but I chose Come Dancing. I've just always liked that song. I like the fact that it's Ray Davies being very nostalgic. He's talking about his youth. He's equating the loss of his youth to this dance hall being torn down. You know, he talks about his sister going there. And I also like that little part in the song where, you know, he said, the day that they tore down the Pally, you know, my sister sat and cried the day they tore it down. A part of me just died. And then also the rock and roll chords come in. Dun, 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 dun. It's almost like symbolic. My childhood was gone. Here's the rock and roll. You know, I mean, it's like they tie together. It's kind of like that led to it. And I know the song, it's got that da 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 da. And it might sound corny, but it works. I like that song. Come Dancing. That's my number 6.
We have 3 of the same, believe it or not. And
Awesome.
my number 10 is Come Dancing.
Oh, well, good. I don't feel so bad.
I thought I was going to take all the crap for putting that in here because it's unlike a lot of King songs with the horns and the da 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 da. But it is nostalgic, written about, inspired by his older sister who died of a heart attack at age 31, I believe, and she was a dancer in the local Pally. I mean, he's writing about stuff that actually happened, and it's personal to him, and it's got a twist at the end because even though she's no longer with us, her sister's bringing the kids to look at the place where the Pally used to stand at the end of the record. So he put that in there to bring his sister alive. I think it's a cool song. You know, and I like this. I'm just going to read the lyric here because I love the way he writes. Another Saturday, another date. She would be ready, but she'd always make him wait. In the hallway, in anticipation, he didn't know the night would end up in frustration. he'd end up blowing all his wages for the week, all for a cuddle and a peck on the cheek.
Peck on the cheek.
That's beautiful writing. I'm sorry. I mean,
Yeah.
it's simple, but you can put yourself in that position. This guy thinks he's going to have a big night, and you know,
Yeah.
he's going to get a
It ain't
little
happening.
later Gator stuff. You know what I mean? My number 9 is exactly the same as Gary's number 9, a low budget, the title track. Basically about being broke and struggling in that tough economy. It's got a kind of heavy lead guitar too in that. I'm on a low, you know. I just like the
Very
song.
distorted guitar. Yeah, you're right.
Distorted. It's classic Kinks. And you know, again, the lyric circumstances forced my hand to be a low cut. I'm sorry, I'll redo that. Circumstances forced my hand to be a low cut price person in a low budget land. Times are hard, but we'll all survive. I just got to learn to economize. I mean, and you're right about the pants don't fit and shopping at discount stores and just one line after the next. It's like piling on. It's great stuff. My number 8 is probably one of my only deep cuts or sleepers. It wasn't a hit. It's called This Time Tomorrow from 1970. This is featured in the Wes Anderson movie, The Darjeeling Limited. And this is the Kinks at their most melodic. It's got that strumming guitar in the beginning. It's very acoustic, beautiful harmonies. And I love the drumming on it. There's a drum area at the end of where he's really banging away. Ray Davies said this song is about transience. Where do we play tomorrow? What am I doing as a person tomorrow? Because he's traveling. He's in the sky looking down at the world. It's kind of a floating song. He's going with the flow for a while, and he doesn't really know where he's going to be tomorrow. Where will we be tomorrow? As the recurring chorus. It says, I'll leave the sun behind me, and I'll watch the clouds as they sadly pass me by. 7 miles below me, I can see the world, and it ain't so big at all. So he's just pondering what his next move in life is, and is he really happy doing the traveling around, being the rock star at that point? Number 7 is Well Respected Man. Again, Gary hit on the big points about poking fun at the upper crust of society, the snobs, how they look down at other people with their, you know, rose-colored glasses or whatever. He gets up in the morning and he goes to work at 9. He comes back home at 5:30, gets the same train every time. And I like how he phrases this, because his world is built on punctuality. It never fails. And he's oh so good, and he's oh so fine, and he's oh so healthy in his body and his mind. He's a well-respected man about town, doing the best things so conservatively. Just another great string of words strung together by Ray Davies. And his mother goes to meet. This is the humorous part. And his mother goes to meetings, and his father pulls the maid, and she stirs the tea with counselors while discussing foreign trade. And she passes looks as well as bills at every suave young man. And then the chorus repeats itself. Just love it. Number 6 is one of their early hits. Hard rocking, of course, all day and all of the night. For its time, that was a hard rocking tune, man.
Definitely.
You know, it's a love song too. I'm not content to be with you. I want to be with you all of the time, all day and all of the night. It's got that staccato lyric to it, you know, and I just love it. It is punkish. It's in its own way, garage bandish, as you said. Fantastic song. I wouldn't feel right by not including it, because I think it's, you know, a staple of theirs. Before we go to our top 5, I just want to ask both of you guys, have you ever seen the Kinks live?
Have not. They're one of the 5 bands that got away from me. In fact, I did not own a Kinks album until 2010.
My goodness.
So, I mean, even though, you know, I grew up, you know, hearing their songs, because they had so many top 10, top 20 hits.
Yeah.
But I had never bought an album of theirs. I had a greatest hits, okay?
Right.
But I never bought a proper studio album until 2010.
Yeah.
Because I was starting to run out of, I like to read a lot of rock biographies and, just historical accounts of bands.
Mhm.
And I bought this book, which is a great book, I would tell you to get.
Nice.
I looked on in fact, when we decided this is the band we were doing, I was like, God, how long have I had this? Because I wanted to try and figure out exactly when I got into the Kinks. And I looked on my Amazon archive and I bought that book in 2010. Because when I read a book, I like to own the entire discography.
Yeah.
So I can listen to it as I go along. And that's what I did. I bought up then all their music. And so, yeah, for me, never saw them live. I can remember walking down State Street in Chicago and seeing their name on the marquee at the Chicago Theater, saying like, the Kinks next Thursday. And I was like, maybe. And then I passed on them, and now I kick myself in the ass for it.
Yeah. How about you, Gary?
Yeah, I can remember, I don't remember them touring a whole lot,
No.
like when I was seeing concerts, but I do remember one time seeing it in paper. They were going to be up at Toledo. And I don't know why I didn't go. It was just one of those, maybe I didn't have the cash at the time, or I was working or something. But I remember thinking, oh, I should go see them. I've never seen them. But now I really wish I would have seen them. That's one of the bands right now that I still have hope that maybe they'll get back together and do something. I don't know the health of Dave Davies. But
yeah, you see him in interviews, he is frail looking.
I don't think it's very good from what I heard.
Yeah.
He's could be on his last legs or near to it.
And you, Rich, did you ever see him?
I have not seen them. They're one that escaped me as well. And I just wanted to pick up on a point Steve made about buying albums. I only own 2 studio albums, believe it or not. They've made 24. I did a little research on that. I only have 2. I have Low Budget and State of Confusion, but I have these greatest hits. I've got this one here. I don't know if it's viable, but the Kinks, it's early Kinks, then the Kinks Chronicles, which is a 2-parter.
Right.
yeah,
Then they came out with Come Dancing with the Kinks, which is a lot of 80s stuff. And then this final Kinks collection, which is a double CD. This is really solid. This has a lot of good stuff on it. So between these 5 here, I've got a lot of Kinks music. I just don't have the deeper cuts that you would find on some of their studio albums. And I feel bad about that, but I'm not going to buy at this point 24 studio albums. I like to cherry pick what I want to get. I probably should get some of their bigger albums, like the Lola album, and what's the other one that they're known for? I can't think of it right now. There's a couple.
the
list.
Village. What is it?
The Village Preservation.
Yeah. And Muswell Hillbillies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I missed out.
That album, I cannot get into that album. I've tried forcing myself to like that album, and I still, nothing connects with me on that album.
Some bands you're better off with a good compilation. You can get pretty much the gist of what the band's all about. And I think that's where I'm at with the Kinks.
Well, the one thing about the Kinks is with their mid 70s work and their 80s work, you can find a lot of those albums out in the record store, in the bins, fairly cheap.
Oh yeah.
I picked up most of the Kinks records that I've gotten here lately. I haven't paid more than $5 for any of them.
That's good.
And they're all in good shape. I'm not sure how many Kinks records I have, but I mean, I got some CDs too. But I'm like you, I also have some greatest hits, but I've got a decent amount of studio albums, but I don't have any of the early studio albums. That stuff I just have on greatest hits.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, everything from Sleepwalker on, which is 77, I have all that on vinyl. And like you, I paid no more than $5 for each one of those.
Yeah.
Everything before that I have on CD. Because the ones before that, if you do find them in the wild, they're a little pricey or they're beaten up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okie doke. All right, our halftime is concluded. Let's get back into the countdown, and we're going to go back to Steve for his number 5. Then we'll go to Gary and myself.
I'm just doing 5 or my next 5.
Just 5. Just number 5.
Okay, number 5 from Give the People What They Want, 1981, Better Things.
Yeah.
I love this song. This song could have been number 1 for me, actually. You know, these top 5, I could swap them out any day of the week. This song, though, it's 1981. It's before production got really bad in the 80s. Because this song, especially the drums, it could have really gotten that 80s sound. But thank God it escaped all those production faux pas of the 80s, because it's a great song. So,
Very good. Gary.
Good pick. My number 5, also off the same album, and that is Around the Dial. I love that song. I love the way it starts out with this almost mawkish heavy metal sound, you know, bam, 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 bam. But then it has, throughout the song, it changes. And, you know, they've got these harmonies going on in there. And I like the way that Ray Davies sounds when he sings, like he's, you know, it's a very plaintive vocal, and he's genuinely concerned, you know, what has happened to the radio that I knew? Where's that DJ that I loved?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and he's, once again, I mean, I suppose it's reminiscing in a way. And when you think about it, you know, we're all old enough that we remember that FM radio used to be really good.
yeah.
Even AM radio was, but you had particular DJs and stuff that you would listen to because of them.
Yeah.
They would play all kinds of great music. You know, now everything is owned by Clear Channel.
Yeah.
You know, so these are the same idiots that have Glenn Beck on the air and that kind of stuff. They don't know the difference. It's all the same. You know, I mean, they just have, oh, well, here's the 10 songs that we're going to play, you know, for our classic rock songs. But it used to be, hey, if an old band put out a new album, they were always playing a new track off of it. You know, yeah. Hey, we got the new Rolling Stones in. But not only are we going to play Start Me Up, here's another song on here I like. This is called Hang Fire. You know, listen to this one. And they would always do that. Yeah. They'd always say, oh, here's another song off this album. And they play that. You never get that now.
Yeah, it's done.
You don't have that kind of thing. And to me, this song is reminiscing about that time period.
Very good. My number 5 is the one that got them started. You Really Got Me. I had to include it. Gary touched on it earlier. And again, this is such an original sound for 1964. The Beatles were doing their pop love songs, and music had really waned from in the early 60s. You had the Beach Boys and the Four Seasons, and then the Kinks come on the air with, I mean, it's just killer rock and roll, very forceful, so much energy, and yet it's still melodic. That's the thing. It still has that melody, even with the loud sound and the great guitar work, and it's got that iconic riff. So I always admired the song, and I prefer it way better than the Van Halen version. That's just my own taste.
Do both of you believe that is truly the first heavy metal song?
That's a great question.
You have to think in context of the time. It's a very heavy song for 64.
That's what I'm saying. It's a heavy song, but metal, I mean, you could say that. You know,
I think it definitely has that attitude.
It does. You know, the song I always come back to when I think of the first real heavy metal song is Inagata Devita. I think that's a heavy ass song.
It is a very heavy song.
And
it's
then
very almost prog rock too.
Yeah. And that was heavy. And so was, you know, a lot of people say Born to Be Wild, but that's a little bit later. I think there were people doing that stuff a little before that.
And I think that just gets mentioned because they use the words heavy metal in the song.
Exactly. That's a key point. The
Yeah.
other one is Vanilla Fudge. You Keep Me Hanging On. That's a heavy song too.
That is a very heavy version of that song. Yeah.
But like we're talking about, 64, the Kinks preceded all that stuff. I think it's because it's so damn melodic. I don't know, the only time I feel like it's got the great melodic chorus along with that jamming guitar work. It's just fantastic. It's so original. It blew the Beatles work off the stage back in those days. If you like that kind of music, the Beatles were all doing Love Me Do and Please Please Me and I Want to Hold Your Hand and She Loves You, all same versions of the same song. I mean, different versions of the same song with different lyrics, but they sound all the same. That's just one man's take. Sorry.
I know Pete Townsend had said that the Kinks were like the best live band of that era.
Yeah.
He said, because I saw something not that long ago where he said he'd be very curious what they would be like now. Like, if they would play live, he said, because they were like the top of the top at that point. Yeah. He said they were just an amazing live band. So,
and they were kind of gruff looking. They weren't the pretty boys with the nice haircuts like the Beatles. They had a little bit of an edge to them, but they were edgier.
Yeah, they rode in between the Beatles and the Stones.
They did.
Yeah.
So cool. That takes us to number 4 for Steve.
Okay. Rich, you were talking a lot about their melodic sense. I think this is one of their more melodic songs from 65. It's from the Kinks Controversy album, Till the End of the Day.
Yes.
I love the chorus in that.
Yep.
It's one you can hear it and you could sing along all day long. It's a real earworm. And I love the guitar solo in that. I think it's one of Dave Davies' better guitar solos.
Dave Davies is really a well underappreciated guitar god. I mean, he just look at all this music. The plethora of just fantastic riffs he's got.
Yeah,
it's amazing. All right, Gary, you're up. Number 4.
Okay. Number 4. Look around. The Misfits are everywhere. Misfits, number 4. Just great song lyrically, sung well. It speaks to everybody. Everybody has felt like a misfit at some point. And when you think we're all talking about how the Kinks are kind of an underrated band, they're an underdog band, and probably their fans can totally relate to that. Yeah, I'm a misfit. I love the Kinks. Everybody else is talking about all these other bands, and it's a perfect song for those guys to do. That's my number 4.
I think that's why they have so many fans, because there's a lot of people out there that feel like they're marginalized and just not part of the bigger picture. And those are your Kinks fans, man.
They're right in there, man.
My number 4 is Apeman.
Oh,
I love this song. And it's got that simple sentiment of returning to a simpler way of life, of love and respect for one another. Things have become too complicated. Population, technology, politics, nuclear threats. Just the world is very stressful these days. And this was 1970, 50 years ago. It's double that now. Starvation, crazy politicians, inflation. The best line in the movie, in the song rather, I don't want to die in a nuclear war. I want to sail away to a distant shore and make like an ape man. I think we all feel that way when things get overwhelming. You just want to get away from it all, man. Just give me some space. And he follows that up, Ray Davies, with I'll be your Tarzan, you'll be my Jane. I'll keep you warm, you'll keep me sane. We'll sit in the trees and eat bananas all day, just like an ape man. So I really enjoy that song. And again, it's melodic, it's simple, but it made my list. Number 4.
awesome.
all right.
Number 3 for Steve.
It's funny when you're talking about Misfits, and you and I, Rich, we're old enough. You remember the debate amongst your friends. People would say, "Are you a Beatles or are you a Stones fan?" Nobody ever said, "I'm a Kinks fan."
I know.
It's
It's true.
So for me, number 3 from Arthur, 1969, Victoria.
Oh, there you go.
That song, every time I hear it, especially the beginning, it reminds me of something that Canned Heat would have done.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's very much their vibe. And that album, I mean, that's a concept album, one of many concept albums they did. But when that was released, the British press said it was a better concept album than Tommy, which had come out in the same year.
Wow.
So, I mean, Gary, you talked on how Peter Townsend said he thought they were a great live band. I'd like to know his thoughts on which he thought was the better concept album.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how he'd answer that.
All right, Gare.
Okay, my number 3 off of Word of Mouth, Do It Again.
Do it again. Do it
To
again.
me, this was a really big hit for them, and it got them on the radio again. They had a video with it, and it's just a great song. You know, standing in the middle of nowhere, between now and then, and just that guitar line in there too is, you know, a simple. It sounds like an early Kinks song. Dun, 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 you know, and there's nothing complicated going on there except for that guitar or whatever that effect they have at the beginning, where it's dun, 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 has that fading thing going. But once again, Ray Davies sounds very British in that song, and I love that. That's one of my favorite aspects of this band, is that they sound very British. And it's like they just popped back into the consciousness of everybody with that song. And I know when I heard it, it made me stop and think, and I'm like, oh, hey, the Kinks have another album now. You know, I should go get that, because that song kicks ass, and I love it. It's easily one of my favorite songs. You know, when we talk about doing this, it was just a matter of, okay, where am I going to put this? So
I know
it landed at number 3.
it was one of my honorable mentions. I stopped listing them because I would have went on for a while, because I had about 25. I really love the Kinks songs. Number 3 is from the album Everybody's in Showbiz, Celluloid Heroes. Me being a movie guy,
very
you
good
know it
song.
had to be there. Beautiful ballad, just gorgeous ballad. It's just a stroll down Hollywood Boulevard, name dropping all the way. It's the stars of yesteryear: Garbo, Bela Lugosi, Betty Davis, Marilyn Monroe, Mickey Rooney. He's naming them all from the golden era. And I think there's a meaning here, of course. It doesn't matter how much you achieve in your life. All of us, even the big stars, even the people that are millionaires, they're all vulnerable. They all have feelings. They sit alone and cry. They laugh. They feel pain. And eventually, all of us, sad as it seems, we get old and we die. And that's just reality, but that's the way it is. But even with that harsh statement I just read, the way he does it with that melody is just beautiful. Everybody's a hero, no matter who you are. Just a gorgeous song. And I would never shut that off on the radio when I heard it. I love that song, man. It's one of my favorites.
That I don't know why I didn't mention. I guess because I didn't realize we was going to do honorable mentions, so I was trying to think. But that was on my short list that I eventually went, all right, it crossed out. But yeah, I love that song.
If I would have left that off, all my movie friends would have come at me with knives. And
Oh yes, yeah. That's
it couldn't
that
be
pick
helped.
is that pick is a natural for you. Yes,
Had to be there. All right, we're
Yeah.
down to do the precious top 2.
Okay, well, for me, these next 2, I'm not surprised that they are the top 2, because they're very similar in tone. They're released back to back as singles, so I mean, it just kind of captures that era. First one up is from Kinda Kinks, 65, Tired of Waiting for You.
Mm.
That's just like you said, Rich. It's just another very melodic song. It's their highest charting single in the U.S. Hit number 6. Just love the song, and when you hear what my number 1 is, you'll be like, oh yeah, I can hear the similarities in those two songs. So
I just want to interject, Tired of Waiting for You is the one that just missed. That would have been number 11
yeah,
if I were ranking them. I wanted to get it in, but I didn't want to leave Come Dancing out. But, great song, no question.
something's got to get left on the cutting room
know,
floor,
yeah.
Rich.
That's
Yeah.
the sad part.
Yeah.
What do you
Well,
got?
it's good that, when we get to talk about them a little bit if they're not on our own list.
That's
And
why we do these. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one. My number 2, and this is just, to me, a perfect song, and that's Waterloo Sunset. Telling a story there. He's painting a picture,
Oh, definitely, yes.
and it is just fantastic. It's a song that even my kids like that song.
Yeah.
And that guitar in there,
I know.
Yeah, it just follows the melody exactly.
Yeah. And the solo even fits into that. Sings it so beautifully.
I agree.
And you just picture yourself in this town and on this bridge, and Waterloo Sunset is mine, and it's just the title itself. It's Waterloo Sunset. It's like, who thinks of a title like that? That sounds like a movie, and that's what this song is. It's just a mini movie.
Yeah, that song has become like a unofficial national anthem in England.
Oh, I can believe it. I mean,
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is very cinematic, like Gary said. There's no question. It does paint a picture. You can visualize it. You can put yourself there and saying, I want to get away from it all and just be with my thoughts, maybe. And I'm going down to see some Waterloo Sunset. It's gorgeous, and the vocal phenomenal. My number 2 is one of their bigger hits from 1966, "Sunny Afternoon."
Yeah.
Love this song. And this is another one of these satires about the rich getting squeezed by the British tax system. Great vocal by Ray. Just his delivery is priceless. The tax man's taken all my dough and left me in my stately home, lazing on a sunny afternoon. And I can't sail my yacht. He's taken everything I've got. All I got's a sunny afternoon. And then he goes into the chorus, and then it gets worse for him. My girlfriend's run off with my car. She's gone back to her ma and pa, telling tales of drunkenness and cruelty. Now I'm sitting here sipping at my ice cold beer, lazing on a sunny afternoon. Again, classic Kinks. Couldn't do without it.
And tax them they did back then. They were like at 92%.
I know it was over 90. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It was a ridiculous. I mean, that's why so many of them became tax exiles. Yeah.
And this came out, I guess, the same year as Taxman, the Beatles Taxman, 66. So they were all bitching over there about getting squeezed.
Yeah.
And
Understandably.
So. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't mind paying my fair share, but if for every $100 I make, you're going to take 92 of them.
That's messed up. Man. Not right. All right, we're down to the big one, number 1.
Okay, big one. Okay, well, it wouldn't be an All the World's a Stage video without, I didn't show my shirt.
Oh, awesome.
I got my Kink shirt.
Nice job.
So number 1 is it didn't make it on any album. I mean, much like the bands back then not just in the US, but the whole British invasion. So many songs were just done as singles. They didn't even make it onto an official release. I mean, you look at like that Beatles Past Masters. I mean, that is any other band would love to have that as their entire body of work. I mean, it's incredible, all the songs that are on that just never make it onto an album.
Yep.
But my number 1 song for the Kinks, and like I said, very similar to Tired of Waiting for You, is Set Me Free.
Nice.
1965. Initially, Dave Davies was not happy with this song, but it grew on him. He said they were kind of writing a song about they were parodying themselves. So, but yeah, for me, it's a clear cut number one. That is today. Ask me tomorrow, it might change.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to text you tomorrow and say, what's your number one?
Right.
All right, Gary, what do you got?
All right. My number one is Rock and Roll Fantasy.
Oh, baby, that was one of my
Yeah.
honorables. Yep.
Yeah, that was
I-
definitely an honorable for me.
I just think the fact, well, I don't, Steve, you already touched on it, or Rich. Now I'm not sure which one of you did, but as far as it's a song, it's got like a few things going on in it. The main part of it is Ray is talking to Dave because he wanted to quit.
Right.
They thought, he wanted to break up the band. Even Mick Avery, the drummer, at that time, he said he was going to quit. You had that aspect of it. He's telling them, hey, don't break up the band. We've got these people that love us and they still want to hear us make music. But he also himself says at the end, I don't want to live in a rock and roll fantasy either. He wants to be rooted in reality, but Ray is basically saying, I feel like I still have some more to say. I'm not quite ready to hang it up, but I don't want to be living in a dream world either. And then, you also have the aspect of when he's talking about people being fans of them, listening to the music, living in a rock and roll fantasy. Well, in a way that kind of describes all of us here, right? We live out a lot of our lives in this, for this music. We've grown up with it. It's our escape. It's how we get through life. I'm sure you guys are like me. You couldn't even picture living life without music in it. And so, it's just talking about different things in that song. And it's just, with the Kinks, a lot of it is about the lyrics.
A lot of it.
More so than a lot of other bands. And I think that this is one that fits in that category. The music starts out, I think, with that organ going, and then it goes into it, but the whole song's pretty mellow.
Yeah.
And it's just a very wistful song. I love it. Rock and Roll Fantasy, number one.
Very good. Glad to see it represented. My number one is Gary's number two, Waterloo Sunset. I think it's a perfect 10 as far as songwriting goes. And there's not much I can say. It's beautifully arranged, cinematic. We already talked about that. Terry and Julie walking on the bridge, young lovers. And then the singer, of course, is reflecting on childhood memories. I don't need no friends. As long as I gaze on Waterloo Sunset, I am in paradise. And you can definitely relate to that. If you're having some tough times in your life and you need to just get away from whatever's driving you insane, get out to Waterloo Sunset, man. You have a place to take your thoughts, tranquil, peaceful. You look out there and everything seems a little better and a little mellower, and you can get through it. You can get through the day. This is part of the painting of the picture here. Dirty old river, must you keep rolling, flowing into the night. People so busy, makes me feel dizzy. Taxi light shines so bright. So you can picture that taxi light hitting the river and just, the red lights, and it's a beautiful scene. So that's my number one from the Kinks. It goes against a lot of what they're known for with the with the hard rocking and the brash, bold, brazen type of attitude. But when it comes down to it, it's all about the songs for me. And I love Waterloo Sunset. I think it's the best song they've ever written, and I'm going to stand behind it as such. So
Good choice. Good choice.
thank you.
I cannot argue with you. It was tough for me to keep that song off the list, but apparently there were 10 more that I like than that.
Yeah, but it's good that we have some diversity. We don't all have the same list. We all,
Right.
our own styles are reflected in what we have listed,
Did you
some-
keep track? How many did we have common?
I did not keep track.
Okay,
I would say
maybe
5,
3.
maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
And I know Gary and I had a couple in common.
Yeah.
We had, You Really Got Me. Was that on your list? Yes, it was.
Yeah, it's number 10. We all
Not on
both had
mine.
low budget. We both had well-respected men.
Well-respected man, low budget, and Come
Come
Dancing.
Dancing.
And you both had Waterloo
Well,
Sunset.
yeah, I
So
think
you
that's like half.
you two guys had 5 songs in common. I didn't have any of those 5.
Well, that's,
So I will not be invited back.
Well,
No, that's
Steve,
not
you
true.
suck.
that's not true. Anyway, let me wrap this up and we'll talk about our next project. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. I want to thank Steve again from All the World's a Stage. Please sub him, check him out. Great channel. He's climbing the echelon as we speak. Gary, of course, physical format rock and roll. He's doing better than the other 2 of us, but still, throw him a bone, sub him up.
Oh, hell, Rich, you and me combined haven't reached Gary's
That's
level.
right. We haven't even gotten into
You
that
will.
territory yet, so we have a long way to go.
Give yourself
Yeah.
a month.
These guys are fantastic. I thank them very much for coming on with me tonight and doing the Kinks. And believe me, we'll line up something else in the near future.
Thank you,
So
Rich.
for Steve, for Gary, I'm Rich. Take care, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.